Okay, so if LaMarcus Aldridge does not actually end up signing with the Nets, I'll probably take this video down, but it seems like he's going to sign with the Nets. They also just signed Paul Millsap. That's official now. The first thing to think about is like, it's cool to see LaMarcus Aldridge back. I just hope that he's not rushing into something that's going to give him health problems, because we know how abruptly it ended for him last season, and I'm just going to trust that whoever he's talked to, whether it's one person, multiple people, hopefully multiple people, that they gave him the right information. That's the first thing. As far as Aldridge with the Nets, I mean, the shooting is the obvious thing, right? Like, we remember, he fully embraced shooting threes in his tail end of playing for the Spurs. And you figure as a big guy who can make threes, that's effective. To give you a very small sample size of numbers, in the 5 games he played for the Nets last season, 55% of his shots were jump shots, with the majority coming from mid-range. I think it's fair to expect more of that. Of course, he's still going to get finishes around the rim. Like, he's going to stand in the dunker spot. He can still roll. It's not as if he can't move at all out there. But I think a lot of it is going to be him as a floor spacer. I don't know if we're going to see too much more of LaMarcus Aldridge turnaround jumpers and post-ups and all that, but I also don't think he's expecting that either. As for on defense, you figure if Aldridge is playing center, they'll mainly just play drop coverage. I don't know if they're going to ask him to step up on ball handlers like that. If he's not playing center, I guess the hope is that you can put him on someone who is just basically a spot shooter. It's tougher to do that against good teams, especially in the playoffs. To think about Millsap, Millsap, at this point, obviously he's not the NBA nerd's dream two-way player anymore, but I feel like he's still pretty solid. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing defensively. I think he can still move his feet okay enough, and now that he's not going to be asked to play like 30 minutes a game as he was for the Nuggets a lot of the time, I think that'll help. I think he can defend threes some. I don't think he could do it against everyone, but against some teams, sure. Power forwards, yeah. I think in a pinch he can give you some small ball center lineups, but you wouldn't want to go too far with that. And offensively, I think at this point with Millsap, it's mainly hoping he can make his open threes, which is a little iffy. I mean, 43% last year, or 2 years ago, 34% this previous season. I don't know if he's going to give you any of the bullying guys around the basket Millsap that he has done for a bit of his career at this point, but I think he can at least still finish. He understands how to cut. He knows how to play off of ball handlers, and of course, you got KD, Kyrie, and Harden here, so I feel like Millsap is smart enough and still talented enough to find a fit with this team. To me, the question is actually, suddenly the Nets do have like kind of a lot of front court guys. When you got Blake, he can make open threes and he can still finish at the rim effectively enough. Obviously, he's not playing as much as he used to. It's kind of the story with all their big dudes, I guess. You got DeAndre Jordan. I don't know if Jordan's going to be playing much. There was already some rumor about how people expect him to not be on the team. I don't really know how they're going to do that. You've got Nick Claxton, who, of course, has the most potential out of all these guys because he's not like 37. He can switch, he can roll, and there's hope with his offense that it's more than just simply him diving to the rim. But even if it is just that, I think that is still pretty all right. So it'll be interesting to see just how the Nets balance all this out. I mean, is it possible that Nick Claxton could grow into being the starting center of this team, I don't know, by the midway point of the season? Well, perhaps. But I do think it's a decent chance that Blake is your starting center to start the year. And I say that because, obviously, last postseason, Blake was the starting five. So while he's not going to play a huge amount of minutes, I think that's probably option one. And then you figure between Blake and Aldridge, who can both play, I guess, about 20 minutes a game. And now, again, I do question how you're going to get Claxton in there. I mean, maybe somebody's going to have to be playing like 15 minutes a game, which, at this point, maybe they don't really mind. And then I think Millsap can fit in with any of those guys okay enough because you can just slot him at power forward. And you figure some of the lineups you can go with. I mean, maybe if Joe Harris is just getting picked apart defensively, I think he puts in a good effort on defense and he's not like super small. But let's say he's getting beat up a little bit defensively against a playoff team. you can throw Millsap in there. You lose some shooting, well, a decent amount of shooting, assuming that Joe Harris doesn't pull what he did against the Bucks again. But you gain so much defense that maybe it ends up being good for you. So the Nets just have a lot of options around Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, where if you need to sprinkle in a little bit more shooting, you got Patty Mills and Joe Harris. If you want to throw out some more defense, Bruce Brown, Nick Claxton, Paul Millsap now, if Millsap can still hold up like that. Also, when I mentioned the shooting, you could throw LaMarcus Aldridge at center out there for that. So it's like if one guy's not able to hang with a team on a given night or in a playoff series, you probably have somebody else that you feel comfortable going with. So, yeah, cool. I mean, is there any fear about guys being not okay with the minutes? I don't think so, because a lot of these guys are either role players or they're just old. So I don't think they're going to be too upset by it.